Yeah, this is LFDRA audio, Wednesday the 4th of June. It's good to hear about the federal minimum increase. It's been an LFDRA policy since 2017 that the federal minimum safety net should be $33 per hour with all the holidays, sick days, and other entitlements, which is found on the website, on the LFDRA website. This is broken record stuff. I sound like a broken record, I know I do, and I have no listeners because the way the cookie crumbles is that the media, they're all favouritism to King Charles. And 7th edition, what's written about in 7th edition that I read 7th edition back in 2011, 2012, right before I actually applied once. I actually applied for 7 government jobs a week, one month, just because you try to look for a job with the same private business, with the same private businesses, and they're the same business. But I once, on Job Seeker or New Start, it was called New Start then, and I think the New Start payment was about $560 or $580 a fortnight. And so I thought, oh, fuck this. So I just went and applied for a whole heap of government jobs. I applied for the DPMC, I applied for ACES, ASIO, all those other jobs. And I applied for all these government jobs, about 7 jobs a week. And I thought, nah, fuck this. Because they say you have to apply for it, you have to search for 7 to 15 job places, look for work for 7 to 14 businesses. So I thought, nah, fuck this, I'll just apply for a job with the same business, which pretty much if you're working for a business, you're just working for the same business somewhere else because they've diversified. Though, so I applied for all these Department of Defense jobs and DPMC jobs, and before that I wasn't on, but I had an email sent to me to correspond with the expert panel on asylum seekers, which I wrote back to, and they said, thank you for your contribution. And then I applied for I already applied for DPMC jobs just to get the government off my back. And it's not worth writing to politicians because you'd end up dead if you wrote to politicians, because their favouritism are their pay packets and their favouritisms to themselves. They only think about themselves and favouritism to King Charles. If they're not favouritism to King Charles, they think in their ideology, if they're not favouritism to King Charles, they think I'm the malware. They think the LFDRA is malware. Well, I remember listening to someone, I can't remember the name of the person, but they were saying favouritism is unethical. Favouritism to King Charles is unethical as a government and a country. They never said that, but they said in the aspect of government, as a government public service, they were saying it's unethical to have favouritism. And what is the government of Australia have to give favouritism to? King Charles, a monarchist league of malware. But the way the cookie crumbles, I've already said this, now broken record stuff, back to broken record stuff. Psychiatrists, if psychiatrists and politicians, untouchables, so for example, the untouchables, psychiatrists and politicians, or I know full well Defence Force personnel that were former Defence Force personnel that have had to consume the system of mental health service system. I know full well they wouldn't wish it upon their worst enemy. And I know if psychiatrists had to consume the mental health system in Australia actually as an affected person patient, yeah, they wouldn't be, I don't think they'd be singing the same tune if they actually had to consume as the affected person patient. So I'll just leave it at that for this LFDRA audio edition. Oh yeah, of the day TV 24 live programming. According to the LFDRA website, it might resume in the future. We went with a Canadian business and it wasn't working for us. We went for a Canadian business to help with the streaming side going live, and we just got delay and lag, and the transponder or whatever transcoder or whatever the fuck it is wasn't working. So that'll be going again in the future. But see, some of what the Fed is malware. See, they're close to it, but they're just malware. They think they're doing what's right, but they're not. They're just malware in favouritism to King Charles and favouritism to the pay packets of their status of themselves.